Good evening and welcome. I'm Kelli Richards, CEO of the All Access Group and the host of All Access Radio. As a highly sought-after consultant, super connector, trusted advisor, celebrity wrangler, and thought leader, I facilitate strategic business opportunities in digital distribution between innovative technology companies, talent and media companies, and brands in order to foster new revenue streams and deliver compelling consumer experiences. As a trusted advisor, I seek to transform the quality of people's lives. And I'm also the author of the best-selling ebook, The Magic and Moxie of Apple, An Insider's View. Tonight's guest on the show is Michael van Himbergen. Michael is a sought-after visual effects producer, award-winning, based in northern New Mexico these days. He was actually born in Hollywood and raised in Los Angeles. And after graduating from California Institute of the Arts, we call it CalArts, Michael worked on projects as diverse as Spaceballs, Die Hard, Michael Jackson's Black or White music video, What Dreams May Come, Stargate, Surrogates, and many others. He is also the author of the long-awaited novel and screenplay, Overblown, and he's a very close friend of mine. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. So you live in New Mexico now, but you grew up in L.A., and that's pretty diverse. Kind of want to start chronologically. We'll come back to New Mexico. It'd be interesting to share with our listeners, I think, Michael, what some of your interests and hobbies were that kind of led to what would come later in life.
Oh, gosh. My interests and hobbies, they were pretty spontaneous things. I would say my interest and hobby turned out to be motion theater, this thing that me and my partner Jeff Diamond had developed. That was it was a 15-year struggle trying to get a theater built that we were concerned would take care of everything that you were doing, you know. Anyway, that something like that, you know.
Yeah. And you know, I of course have insights into many of your hobbies today. Like, for example, our listeners might be surprised to know that Michael produced a video on how to bathe cats.
Yeah.
So that starts to give people a picture of some of the diverse aspects that are Michael van Himbergen.
When did we meet? 18 years ago or something like that?
Oh, 18 years ago. Yeah, exactly. Good guess.
Wow.
Yeah, and we met, again, for our listeners' benefit, when I was still working at Apple, driving the music and entertainment activities, and producing a conference on Kauai, on creative storytelling. And the woman on Kauai, who was the film commissioner over there, Judy Drozd, felt that I should meet you and Jeff, and Jeff Diamond. And, of course, you guys have become two of my very closest friends, as well as cherished colleagues over the many years. And that, of course, brings us back to CalArts. You attended CalArts to study film, and that's where you met Jeff, who becomes such an important collaborator. Did you always know that film was what you wanted to focus on? Or when
not at all. I went to the film school there on purpose in order to get access to all the equipment. And then I utilized it, my own multimedia theater pieces. And
then, of course, along the way, because you and Jeff formed this partnership, some of the earliest things you guys worked on were for example, the ride films that Doug Trumbull would do to the Luxor in Vegas. And that kind of segued into your work as a visual effects producer, a notable one, on this broad array of movies we listed in the intro, ranging from Space to Die Hard.
I kept getting drugged back into visual effects. I was trying to quit since day one, you know, really, and wound up growing it and shrinking it. And finally, when I moved to New Mexico 13 years ago, I was, freelancing and dropping in and out of facilities, and at a certain point it got to be too much. I said, forget it. I'm going to do my own projects, and now we have 3 projects with Overblown that we're going to launch.
Well, before we get into that,
now.
I love that, and of course I can't even believe it's been 13 years, Mikey. But you know, I want to focus a little bit. I don't want to gloss over all the years of you as a visual effects producer, because you were award-winning in that capacity, whether you've moved beyond it or you haven't. And,
yeah, that's right.
You know, it's not. It's people work their whole careers to get on the kind of films that you worked on, and the kind of experiences you had. And, for example, engaging so closely with Robin Williams and What Dreams May Come and some of the other things you had.
I got to work with the best people, fortunately. The best supervisors on the planet, you know. Richard Edlund, Joel Hynek, John Dykstra. The list was incredible that I got to work with. And I got to take care of their problems because I was the producer. And it was very interesting, I must say, but, you know, it was a job.
Yeah, and you happen to be very good at it, which is why you were in such demand for so long. Is there a story that stands out to you about one of your favorite projects in the visual effects part of your journey?
The Luxor project, because it was off the wall, you know, it was a 3-theater media thing with Doug Trumbull. He did, you know, 70 millimeter at 70 frames a second, and we were pushing the edge on everything we did with 6,000 lines, you know, and it was just a great project, and no one bothered us for 2 years.
Yeah. How about that? Pretty much having unfettered access to the best equipment, unlimited budgets, effectively, and nobody looking over your shoulder harassing you. That's a pretty sweet arrangement.
we were hidden in the Berkshires for a long time.
Yeah.
And then
which helped.
When that project ended, we started a company called Mass Illusion, which became an Academy Award-winning company, and it was kick-ass. We were there for 6 years, and then the company moved the company to Alameda Naval Air Station.
I recall it well.
Yeah, and we took Todd and all these people over there.
This is Todd Rundgren again for our listeners.
Yeah. It was great, but we moved like 100 people there, and you know, carried on a company for a couple of years.
I think it's important to note that at that time, which was in the late 90s, the naval air stations were starting to be decommissioned around the country, and one of them was at Alameda Naval Air Station. And in fact, Hollywood got smart about that and was starting to look to use these massive facilities as sound stages and visual effects, you know, destinations to actually, because you needed a lot of space to house people.
We moved into one and then took over leasing it to the movie company.
Correct.
So it was an interesting phenomenon.
And what would you say, Mikey, what was the most difficult or challenging project that you worked on in those years? Was it again the Luxor, or was there something else?
What Dreams May Come.
Yeah.
What Dreams May Come. Because we won the Academy Award, and it was just a treacherous project the whole way through, quitting halfway through and going on to another project. But it was a great project, and you know, it took a lot of software R&D to get that done. It was months and months late.
Was it the equivalent of
fantastic movie?
It was a fantastic movie, and you should be very proud to have worked on it, because it was certainly award-winning in many capacities. Yeah. Would you equate that to the kind of challenges that James Cameron had in working on Avatar, for example, or different kind of challenges?
Different kind. Ours was very, very painterly, very detailed. You know, every frame was a masterpiece type of thing. It was the opposite of what Cameron did.
And what were your insights from your purview in this visual effects world about what he did, for example, that was so unique with Avatar?
Melding the 3D with 2D, you know.
Yeah. You say that like pass the salt.
Yeah. Sorry.
But we all know it took God knows how much money and time to make all that happen.
Way too much. Our current to go way down in money than they're doing on these other shows.
Well, you know, I think it's happening by default.
We can get to in a minute.
Sorry?
Yes, absolutely, it is.
It's happening by default. Have you seen the 30-minute documentary? I'm sure you have, called Life After Pi.
No, I've been meaning to do it. I haven't done it.
It's a must-watch for anybody who's interested in the visual effects world. It's basically a very sad and challenging. It's painful to watch, Mikey. It is. It's 30 minutes about effectively the dismantling of the visual effects world in the last couple of years, because
that's what happens.
So much has been offshored. The costs have come way down. A lot of it's become commoditized. So the artistry that was these visual effects storytellers has been diluted.
Diluted,
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I experienced the visual effects all the way from the middle 80s when we were using analog film at Apogee and at Boss Film, and just shooting the shit out of film, projecting it, the next day. We'd wait for it to be developed and get it the next day.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, from the middle 80s to the 90s, the computer inched its way in there. I remember guys coming to me out of the optical department once going, Mikey, do you think that we should learn computers? And I said, yeah, I think you should learn computers, man. So,
well, they were a big boon to be able to create the effects that was necessary. You need a lot of horsepower to create those effects. That's why we had the Jedi farm out at Lucas and ILM and all these other places. You needed the rendering capacity. Yeah. But in the end, it would spell the demise. It's almost analogous to what happened with the record industry, the music industry from my world, where technology basically co-opted the way things were done for 50 years prior. And it happened over time, not too much time, a couple decades, and effectively, for different reasons, the same kind of thing happened to the visual effects world.
We have a different spin on that. Jeff Diamond and I do. I can talk to you about it when you get to the overblown part of this story.
Well, we'll park that piece then for the moment. But in closing on the whole visual storytelling part of our conversation, what would you say is one piece of wisdom or insight that you've gleaned over all those years of working in that space that other people might not realize?
I think it's probably, enjoy the people that you meet and get out of the industry as fast as you can.
The relationships are what carry, as opposed to the work itself, right?
Yeah. That's true. Everyone is changing nowadays. And, boy, I'll tell you, I think that a radical innovation is going to occur here.
Well, you have always been about innovation. Beyond the visual effects side of your life, you tried to launch the venture in New Mexico when you first moved out there to create a destination for digital media.
That's right.
And tell our listeners a bit about what you try to do with that.
We tried to create, in Santa Fe, we tried to get something going called Mysterious Enterprises, and it was a full start turnkey facility with mobile trucks and stuff like that. Problem was we were a year late in getting it into gear, and the governor quit. So the next governor was hellish, so it broke up. And
in other words, you had support from the prior governor, and then his term ended, and you couldn't get the same support from the incumbent.
Yep. So we blew it in that regard. So we closed it all up, and everyone went home.
But not to diminish the fact that you had the vision, and it was a pretty robust vision, and it could have worked.
Yeah, we transformed that vision to locate itself in Taos with a mobile studio I'll tell you about in a minute. Well,
we're at that point because we're kind of conjoining you physically moving and what happened with your career. So then you went to Taos, and tell us what you've been doing since you've been out there.
I've been writing a novel, writing a screenplay, and writing about 20 songs for the soundtrack as well.
Right.
And I just finished rewriting the novel and rewriting the screenplay. So the songs, of course, just remain as they are. I've got together with partner Jeff Diamond and his marketing partner, David Mitterling. And we're going to, I think within 3 or 4 weeks, Kelly, go ahead and publish the book, the screenplay, and the soundtrack from a single set website. So
I'm thrilled to hear that. I have just started reading it. This, of course, is Overblown. And
yes.
Overblown is something that's been a project of yours for quite some time. I think it would be interesting to elucidate, share with our listeners more about what it is, what was the premise behind Overblown, and why you chose to write it, why you had to write it, because it's effectively a part of your magnum opus as far as I'm concerned.
Why, thank you. Well, it's a joke, the entire novel, and comedy in that regard, but it's satire set in the future where half the population is mobile romads. They're like homeless ex-homeowners. They're addicted to an always-on world overseen by the improvised new totality government. I could go on, but the fact of the matter is that the novel is complete. The screenplay is complete as a screenplay, and the 20-song compilation is complete by itself. So you can understand we're trying to sew them together because we have other visions for this project as well. We intend to get together a way to describe several other sources. One of them is Sciopolis. It's a massively multiplayer online game. Beyond Romadia is a pseudo-realistic television documentary.
So this is a transmedia project in every sense of the word.
It is a transmedia project, yeah. I told you I had the screenplay. Well, it is one shard of multiples. We haven't...
we'll call that a spoke on the wheel, Mikey. It's one spoke.
Yeah. Yes, it is. And so by shooting the feature film, we'll get together X, Y, and Z dramatic elements and spray them across this media path. Like we have an augmented reality game, a touring live performance, a web series, smartphone apps, blah 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 blah, merchandising. So what we're doing is we're using this model of Overblown, right, as a model, and we're going to get people and train them to unpack them and develop them and get them thumbs up or down.
Right.
See what I mean?
So in and of itself, it's its own transmedia project, and then beyond that, it becomes a template, a model for how other people could work more in a transmedia realm.
That's right. And what we've done is we've got together what we did is we said, what do you do when you have audiences and they're not audiences? They're story users. They're story users, right? Mm-hmm. And what are they doing when it comes to super storytelling? Right? They're leaning forward, right? Looking up, leaning back, exploring, locomoting, participating, creating, watching, listening, waiting, looking down, leaning forward. These are physiological states that people get into when they're consuming their media or interacting with their media.
And to your point about interacting, there are aspects in this transmedia realm that involve the audience and engage them interactively.
Right. The leaning forward element is a game console. When you look up, it's television. Leaning back is a Cineplex.
Looking down, it's the second screen with the smartphones and tablets.
Right. You know, a laptop PC, there's a home theater, and on and on. I could go, you know, ad infinitum, but the fact is that here in Taos, there's a concentrated source of people. Call them artists. You know, they're the third largest art population in America besides Manhattan.
And Los
Santa
Angeles.
Fe.
Yeah.
No, Santa Fe.
Santa Fe is number 2. I thought Santa Fe was 3 behind L.A. and New York, and that would make Taos 4.
No, this is where they sell art, you know. So,
wow.
Yeah. What we've done, Jeff Diamond and I, we've decided to put together the Taos Transmedia project and form it here in Taos. The mobile studios part of it is a very big deal, we found out.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to go and have like 3 vehicles really kitted out for production, the director, the editor, and the post-production.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we think we can get these things done with the community help here, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the way to go, obviously, to show them the benefit of having it be a destination for people that want to do this kind of work.
Well, we're doing it just from a local level and starting it in Taos and doing Overblown as the first test project.
Makes sense. Uh-huh.
Yeah. We'll do it as a transmedia project as well as shooting it as a feature film.
And then again, if it works properly, it does become a template and a magnet for broader scope.
Right.
But that's taking the whole thing out a notch. I want to come back into the inside of Overblown itself for a minute, beyond the model of what it's going to be, and ask you what was your what has led you to keep the focus on Overblown and the passion for it and finally get it out? Why did you feel so compelled to write it and get it out for so long? Because I know it's been happening for a long time.
Oh, because it's hilarious, I think, you know.
As a creator, you had it in you. You had to sort of give birth to it, in fact.
Yeah, it's way funny based on my, you know, transmission of what there is. But I just did it for kicks, you know.
But it's been something that's been brewing for quite some time. And again, I think people give you short shrift as a creator yourself, as a creative, because it's hard to find somebody who, in one body, has had an expertise in visual effects and film, and then can at the same time envision and create a novel, a screenplay, a video game, a film, writing the soundtrack.
Over the last 30 years, I've written 4 live productions that we did, 7 screenplays, 2 of which I've sold, although they didn't ever get made. And all leads up to, you know, I said, I might as well write my own. So the music was just, you know, for kicks. You'll get to hear that. I'm going to put it up in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Mike, where should people go towards late November to find out more about Overblown? Is it a website destination you can share?
Yeah, the website we are still deciding on. We got like 4 or 5 of them. So
okay. So if anybody has,
on it.
they can reach out. Is there a way people can reach out to you, or would you prefer they ask questions through me?
No, they can reach out to me. That's fine.
Well, what information should they take down on how to reach out to you? A website or an email or something?
My email.
You want to give that out?
Yeah. It's contactmvh@gmail.com.
So contact MVH, as in Michael van Himbergen, at gmail.com.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So was there a bigger agenda for Overblown in getting it out, or was it just kind of a lark that's turned into this transmedia vehicle with a life of its own?
No, it was always based on transmedia at the get-go, the screenplay was definitely built into the novel, and the novel built into the screenplay, oddly enough, at the end. And I knew that certainly there would be webisode series and other alternate media, but I wasn't the one to figure that out. Collaborators would figure that out.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And it's just going to be a real trip to get everyone working on this. And, gosh, I think there's probably all kinds of work to be done. So it would be a good test project for Taos.
Yeah, to be sure.
We'll have some of the nasty words, but what the hell?
I trust you'll be able to figure that part out. What's interesting to me is, after you've come full circle in your own journey here, Mikey, you really had to strip yourself away from the Hollywood machine and the visual effects world in order to have the space to create and get this out. I don't know how people do it when they try to run in parallel.
Right. No, good thing that the industry said, get out now. So, I did. I got out, 4 years ago.
And you reinvented yourself now as a creator as opposed to being the producer, per se.
Right.
And kind of as we're winding down a little bit, our time together.
Pfizer Walzak are going to do the Synthespian in Overblown.
They are. Okay. And so Pfizer Walzak, again, for our listeners, like Mass Illusion, these were two of the leading visual effects firms in the industry for many, many years, in the 90s in particular, 80s and 90s, and even more recently than that. So you have first-rate people and talent. Of course, you have a lot of history with these guys, too, so they're also friends.
But we're going to call in all the favors and drive it all home. We're going to make Taos other than the situation, because if we get it going here, people are going to recognize small communities as vibrant storytelling places.
And that could revitalize and inject some energy and revenue into these small towns.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so that's
very interesting. There's so many artists here. It's incredible. They had a local show called Paseo just recently, and it was a dozen installations of local artists' art that you interacted with.
Yeah.
Some of it was projected onto, buildings, 3 blocks long, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, boy, I'll tell you, Taos was on fire. And I walked the streets, 3,000 people saw this stuff. And I said, the time is right to take this place. And, damn, that's what we're going to do.
Hey, I think it's a great place to start. Again, you're creating multiple models. You're creating a model for Transmedia and the way that can come out in multiple spokes on a wheel. You're creating a model for small towns like Taos, which people love to shoot in and be a part of anyway because they're such creative magnets. And showing how those small towns can be brought into the 21st century and in a very graceful and natural way, and it's a win-win for everybody, near as I can tell.
Boy, I'll say driving around in town with 3 mobile studios would be a dream come true and a tactical revolution right there.
There's no doubt about it, and I can't think of anybody besides you that could help ignite that and make it happen. So
Thanks, Kelly.
I think you moved there, and the world is following you. Because you're reinventing yourself as you go. And really, that's kind of where I want to start to wind down our time together, is this reinvention that you've done throughout your career. I think that you had to jettison the traditional industry cloak that you were wearing in order to unearth this next layer. I think a lot of people have a romantic idea about what the movie business is like. And as an insider, what's one thing you think many people wouldn't realize about it from having lived inside the belly of the beast?
They'd have no idea how much the producer works.
Yeah.
The producer. He's there first, he's there last every day.
And manages the budget and the personnel and the operations and every aspect.
And the wives and everyone else. Yeah. So it was a trip. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the people I worked with, but I'm going to do something else now, and this is it.
Well, you know what? My final question of all my guests, Michael, is this legacy question about what comes next for you and what's the project you haven't yet started that you dream about creating. But you've already answered it. So I think we're pretty much, we covered all the bases as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, not to worry. Not to worry. It was a wonderful time. I so appreciate you making the time to sit and share the unique insights that you have about all this with my listeners. And I wish you every success. Of course, I'll be tracking it very closely.
Yes, we'll keep you in touch.
As you unfold and unpack the next layer here and bring this vision to life.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks a bunch, Kelly. I appreciate your help.
It's my pleasure, Mikey. It's always great talking with you. And I always like to thank my show producer, Jessica Masters, for the wonderful job she does each week. And, of course, thank you to my listeners for joining us here week after week. We wouldn't have a show without you, and we look forward to hearing you all again next week on the next episode of All Access Radio. Good night, everybody.
See you later. Bye-bye.